Captain Maya Chen stood on the observation deck of the HSS Intrepid, Earth's first true warship, as klaxons blared throughout the vessel. The unexpected object breaching atmosphere was neither asteroid nor satellite. It moved with purpose, bleeding plasma and trailing debris as it fought against Earth's gravity. Analysis. Chen demanded, her voice cutting through the chaos of the bridge. Unknown configuration, Captain. Lieutenant Rodriguez replied. But it's decelerating. This is controlled descent, not a crash. Chen's eyes narrowed. Humanity had been broadcasting signals into space for nearly 2 centuries, but this was something different. Tactical assessment. Its energy signature suggests capabilities beyond our tech. Weapons Officer Park responded. But its damage. Severely. A voice crackled over the comms. Captain, USSF Command. You're ordered to intercept and escort the object to Vandenberg landing zone. The Intrepid's maiden voyage just became first contact. Admiral Zinfos's translucent skin flickered with colors of pain as emergency medical gel sealed the wound on their thorax. The scout ship's emergency landing had been less than elegant, but given that most of their fleet had been atomized, survival itself was victory. The bipedal creatures surrounding them carried primitive projectile weapons but displayed clear military discipline. Zinthos noted their organized formation, the respectful distance maintained. These were soldiers who understood threat assessment. I am Captain Maya Chen of the Human Systems Alliance, said the lead figure, stepping forward with measured confidence. You're aboard an Earth military vessel. The translation matrix processed these words, but Zinthos' inner eyelids fluttered in confusion. Military. But you have not yet joined the Confederation. You have no extraplanetary enemies. The human captain's expression remained impassive. Yet we built this ship anyway. Fortune favors the prepared. Impossible. High Chancellor Vexarian's appendages waved in agitation as the transmission from Zinthos played in the emergency council chamber. A species that develops military technology without external threats. It defies evolutionary logic. The holographic display shifted to images of the human vessel, primitive by Confederation standards, yet undeniably designed for combat. Armored hull, weapons arrays, battle stations. They fight. Themselves, Zinthos explained, their skin now cycling through analytical blues. Their history is filled with internal conflicts. They call it war, and they've been perfecting it for millennia. Across 17 worlds, representatives of the Galactic Confederation watched in growing horror as data on human history streamed across their displays. Global conflicts, arms races, military doctrines evolving over centuries. Barbaric, whispered Natil of the Volari consensus. We cannot ally with such creatures. Perhaps, countered Science Director Elix Mora, but observe this. The display changed to footage of the Vraxian assault on Outpost Gamma 9. Crystalline warships phased through Confederation shields, energy weapons cutting through hulls designed for scientific exploration. The station's 3,000 inhabitants had followed emergency protocols perfectly, and died anyway. Now observe the human captain's analysis. Elix Mora continued. Captain Chen's voice filled the chamber as she highlighted patterns in the Vraxian attack formations, weaknesses in their seemingly perfect assault, predictable sequences in their devastating maneuvers. They saw this in minutes, Zinthos noted, while our tactical AIs missed it entirely. Chancellor Vexarian's appendages stilled. You're not suggesting. The Vraxians have destroyed 17 worlds. Zinthos interrupted. Our peaceful confederation faces extinction. We need warriors, Chancellor. And it seems the universe has provided them, evolved on a distant world, forged in the fires of their own conflicts, prepared for battles we never imagined. And if they turn on us afterward? Someone asked. Zinthos's skin darkened to the deep indigo of grim resolution. That is a problem for the survivors. And there will be no survivors if we reject their help. This is outrageous. High Chancellor Vexarian's voice echoed through the Confederation Council chambers. The elegant crystalline architecture, designed to amplify peaceful harmonies of diplomatic discourse, now vibrated with tension. You expect us to place Confederation lives in the hands of primitives. Captain Chen stood at parade rest beside Admiral Zinthos, her expression neutral despite the insult. The council chamber's gravity was slightly lower than Earth standard, giving her the unsettling sensation of nearly floating with each step. With respect, Chancellor, Chen replied, while your technology exceeds ours, our tactical experience is unmatched in your Confederation. Murmurs rippled through the assembly as representatives of 17 species contemplated this uncomfortable truth. 3,000 years of peace had left them woefully unprepared for the Vraxian onslaught. Experience in killing your own kind, hissed Natil of the Volari consensus, their feathered mantle flaring with indignation. Yes, Chen acknowledged without shame. We've made terrible mistakes throughout our history, but we've learned from them. Admiral Zinfos's skin shifted to a decisive amber as they stepped forward. The 18th world has fallen. The Minerva colony, 8 million souls. Their distress signal lasted 9 minutes before going silent. Silence fell across the chamber. I invoke Emergency Protocol 7, Zinthos announced, causing a wave of color changes across the assembled aliens. In times of existential threat, any potential resource must be utilized. Chancellor Vexarian's appendages trembled. In 3 millennia, that protocol has never. Because in 3 millennia, we have never faced extinction, Zinthos countered. I take full responsibility for this decision. The Intrepid's bridge seemed cramped with the addition of the Confederation liaison team. Lieutenant Rodriguez shifted uncomfortably as Elix Mora, the willowy science director, peered over her shoulder at the navigation console. Fascinating, Elix Mora whispered. You navigate using mathematics rather than intuitive quantum harmonics. Ma'am, we need the station, Rodriguez replied with strained politeness. Captain Chen suppressed a smile. Cultural exchange would take time. Status report. The Confederation has installed their translation matrices and basic shield enhancers, Park reported from Tactical. But they're refusing to integrate weapon systems. We don't understand why you insist on keeping your primitive projectile weaponry, Elix Moore interjected. Our energy lances are far more efficient. Because, Chen explained, when your energy lances fail against Vraxian phase shields, we'll need alternatives they aren't expecting. Before Elix Mora could respond, a priority alert flashed across all screens. Captain, Rodriguez called out, voice tight. The Vraxians have altered course. They're heading directly for Sol system. Silence fell across the bridge. That's impossible, Elix Mora whispered. They couldn't know. They do know, Chen interrupted, meeting Admiral Zinfos's gaze. They're specifically targeting Earth before we can join the fight. Zinfos's skin paled to an almost translucent white. How could they have this intelligence? The same way they've anticipated every Confederation move so far, Chen replied grimly. They're predicting your responses, which means we have an information leak, Zinfos finished, or they can somehow access our tactical databases. Chen turned to her crew. Battle stations, Lieutenant Rodriguez, plot and intercept course. Captain, Elix Mora protested. The Intrepid is not ready for direct confrontation with a Vraxian fleet. The shield enhancements are only at 30% integration. Your hull will rupture at the first. Then we better not get hit, Chen replied, taking her command chair. Admiral, care to observe how humans fight when protecting our home. Zinfos's skin rippled with an emotion the translation matrix couldn't process. I suspect, Captain, that the Vraxians are about to experience something their algorithms cannot possibly have predicted. Kepler Station hummed against the void like a shattered jewel. Its elegant crystalline structures, once a testament to Confederation aesthetics, now vented atmosphere through jagged wounds. 3 Vraxian warships circled methodically, their angular silhouettes outlined by the periodic flash of weapons fire. My God, whispered Lieutenant Park as the Intrepid dropped out of FTL at the edge of the system. They're still firing on the damaged sections. Admiral Zenthos's skin darkened with grief. Kepler housed 10,000 civilians and a research outpost. The evacuation should be proceeding according to Confederation emergency protocols. Captain Chen studied the tactical display, her eyes narrowing as she observed the precision of the Vraxian attack patterns. They're not random. They're systematically cutting off escape routes, targeting the evacuation ships first, then circling back to destroy infrastructure. They always do, Zenthos confirmed. They predicted our evacuation protocols perfectly. Chen turned to her communications officer. Lieutenant Rodriguez, open a channel to Confederation Command. The elegant features of Commander Lux Bell appeared on screen, their bioluminescent facial markings pulsing with stress patterns. Human vessel, maintain your position. Confederation reinforcements are 30 minutes from arrival. In 30 minutes, those evacuation ships will be dust, Chen replied. Request permission to engage. A ripple of shock passed through the Confederation officers on the Intrepid's bridge. Commander Luxbell's markings flared with alarm. Absolutely not. Your vessel has not been properly integrated into our defense grid. You lack our quantum shields. You will be destroyed. Chen's lips curved into the ghost of a smile. That's what they're expecting. Before Lux Bell could respond, Chen cut the transmission. Tactical, analyze Vraxian attack patterns and identify discrepancies in their coverage. Navigation, plot an approach vector through the blind spots. Captain, Elix Mora protested. This is suicide. Commander Lux Bell explicitly ordered. They ordered us to stay put and watch civilians die. Chen interrupted. Not acceptable. Mr. Park, arm all weapon systems, conventional and Confederation. Admiral Zenthos moved to stand beside Chen's command chair. The Confederation does not recognize your chain of command, Captain. I should remind you that. With respect, Admiral, Chen replied without taking her eyes off the tactical display. Confederation protocols have led to 18 worlds falling. Time to try something unpredictable. The Intrepid surged forward, its engines pushing beyond safety parameters as it accelerated toward the Vraxian formation. On the tactical display, the enemy ships continued their methodical attack pattern for several crucial seconds before registering the approaching vessel. They're altering course, Park announced. Intercept trajectory. Hold steady, Chen ordered. Wait for my mark. The Vraxian warships moved with mathematical precision, their formation shifting to create an overlapping field of fire. According to every tactical simulation, the approaching vessel had zero probability of survival. Now, Chen commanded. The Intrepid executed a maneuver that defied the standard laws of inertial physics, its Confederation-enhanced thrusters firing in seemingly random sequences. The ship corkscrewed through space, evading the first volley of Vraxian fire by margins measured in meters. Return fire, all ventral batteries, Chen ordered calmly as the Intrepid rolled beneath the lead Vraxian vessel. Old-fashioned tungsten projectiles, technology considered obsolete by Confederation standards, tore through the Vraxian ship's ventral plating where their phase shields were weakest. The enemy vessel shuddered, its perfect symmetry disrupted as atmosphere vented from multiple hull breaches. Elix Mora stared at the tactical display in disbelief. How did you know their shield configuration? We didn't, Chen replied as the Intrepid banked hard to avoid retaliatory fire. But every shield has a power distribution pattern. If you can't overpower it, find the weak points. A violent impact rocked the ship, throwing several crew members from their stations. Direct hit to primary propulsion, Park reported through gritted teeth. We're running on auxiliaries. On the Confederation command channel, voices raised in alarm. The Intrepid was damaged, combat ineffective by their standards. Condolence messages were already being drafted. Then, impossibly, the human ship changed course again, limping toward the second Vraxian vessel with weapons still firing. Impossible, whispered Commander Lux Bell as the Intrepid, venting atmosphere from multiple hull breaches, executed another evasive maneuver. The bridge of the Confederation command vessel had fallen silent, all eyes fixed on the tactical display where the human warship, by all logical standards crippled beyond function, continued its attack run. "Auxiliary power to forward shields," Captain Chen ordered, her voice steady despite the flickering lights and acrid smoke filling the Intrepid's bridge. "Reroute life support from decks 7 through 12. "Captain," Elix Mora protested, "those systems aren't designed to be reconfigured during combat." Chen didn't bother responding as her crew, trained for exactly this scenario, implemented her orders without hesitation. The shields strengthened just as the second Vraxian vessel unleashed another barrage. "They've altered their firing pattern," Park noted, blood trickling from a gash on his forehead. "They're experimenting." "Good," Chen replied. "That means they're confused." The tactical display updated as Confederation reinforcements finally arrived. Sleek, pristine vessels with technology far superior to the Intrepids. Yet they held position at the system's edge, coordinating their approach with mathematical precision. "Fire remaining missile complement," Chen ordered. "Target their propulsion systems." The Intrepid's missile bays opened, launching a salvo of projectiles that the Vraxians had already calculated trajectories to intercept. Except these missiles suddenly altered course in ways that defied their predictions, spiraling through defensive fire to impact against the enemy vessel's drive section. As the Vraxian ship listed to port, its perfect formation disrupted, the Confederation fleet struck from 3 vectors simultaneously. For the first time in the war, the Vraxian force broke formation and retreated. "You designed failure into your systems," exclaimed Terival, the Confederation's chief engineer, crawling through the Intrepid's damaged corridors 3 days later. The vessel had limped to the nearest Confederation repair facility, where it now underwent extensive reconstruction. "I don't understand this," Terival continued, examining a manual override valve. "Why create a system that requires physical intervention? Your automation could handle this." "Until it doesn't," Lieutenant Rodriguez replied, helping the engineer through a pressure door. "When automation fails, humans adapt." In the makeshift medical bay, Captain Chen winced as nanite regenerators repaired her fractured ribs. Admiral Zinfos stood nearby, their skin cycling through analytical patterns of blue and green. "You expected to be damaged," the Admiral observed. "Your entire tactical doctrine is built around systems failing and crew improvising." Chen nodded. "We call it Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. So we planned for it." "But this contradicts all logical combat doctrine," Zinfos protested. "The optimal strategy is to avoid damage entirely." "In a perfect universe, sure," Chen replied. "But combat isn't perfect. The Vraxians calculated that a ship with our damage would be combat ineffective because that's what would happen to a Confederation vessel." Understanding dawned in Zinfos' expression. "They've been fighting opponents who follow the same logic they do." "Exactly. Their predictive algorithms work because both sides make the same assumptions about optimal behavior." Chen grimaced as she stood, testing her partially healed ribs. "Humans threw out optimal a long time ago. We focus on effective." On the repair facility's observation deck, Confederation tacticians reviewed footage of the battle, frame by frame. The Intrepid's maneuvers defied statistical models, alternating between perfect efficiency and seemingly random choices that made no tactical sense until they did. "We need to implement these strategies fleet-wide," Zinfos announced to the assembled officers. "The Vraxians cannot predict what they cannot understand." A junior analyst raised an appendage hesitantly. "Admiral, our simulations indicate that adopting human randomness would increase casualties by 17%. And continuing our current approach guarantees extinction," Zinfos replied. "Sometimes survival requires sacrifice." The words hung in the air, a concept so foreign to Confederation, thinking that several officers' bioluminescence dimmed in shock. But nobody argued. "You call this chocolate?" Admiral Zinfos held the small brown square with careful reverence before placing it on their tongue. The effect was immediate and spectacular. Their translucent skin rippled with cascading colors, shifting from surprised violet to euphoric amber before settling into a contented azure glow. "Your species created this for pleasure?" Zinfos asked, voice tinged with wonder. Captain Chen nodded, hiding her amusement as other Confederation officers cautiously sampled Earth delicacies in the Intrepid's newly repaired mess hall. 2 weeks into repairs, what had begun as formal diplomatic exchanges had evolved into something approaching genuine cultural curiosity. "The biochemical reactions are extraordinary," Science Officer Elix Moore observed, scanning Zinfos with a medical device. "The compounds in this substance trigger neurochemical responses almost identical to those produced during our sacred harmonization rituals." "We just call it dessert," Lieutenant Park remarked, earning chuckles from the human crew. Across the room, Terival, the Confederation engineer, manipulated holographic music notes with delicate precision, face illuminated with childlike fascination as the ship's AI translated human musical scales into Confederation harmonic patterns. The resulting melody, part batch, part alien quantum harmonics, filled the chamber with sounds neither species had heard before. "Your species creates beauty despite your violent history," Terival observed. "This contradicts our evolutionary models." "Maybe that's why we created," Rodriguez suggested, "to remind ourselves what we're fighting for." The midnight alert klaxon shattered the moment. "Intruder alert, Repair Bay 3. Security Chief Ortega's voice echoed through the ship. "All personnel, combat stations." Chen was moving before the announcement finished, followed closely by her officers. To her surprise, Admiral Zinfos and several Confederation officials followed as well. "Return to secure quarters," Chen ordered them. "This area isn't safe." "What's happening?" Zinfos demanded. "Vraxian infiltration team," Ortega reported over comms. "They breached the station's outer hull 12 minutes ago. They're heading for the Intrepid." Chen accessed a tactical display. The repair station's layout appeared, highlighting multiple hostile signatures converging on their position. The station's civilian staff were following standard Confederation emergency protocols, retreating in orderly fashion to designated safe zones. "They're after our technical data," Chen realized. "They want to understand how we fought them." "We must withdraw," Elix Moore insisted. "The station's automated defenses will." "The automated defenses are already compromised," Chen interrupted, studying the security feeds. "This was a planned operation." "But the station personnel," Zinfos began. "Will die if we retreat," Chen finished. "This station has 3,000 civilian engineers and scientists. The Vraxians will eliminate witnesses once they have what they came for." The Admiral's skin paled. "What can we do?" "The Intrepid's weapons systems are offline for repairs, and Confederation reinforcements are hours away." Chen surveyed the assembled group. Confederation scientists and engineers who had never seen combat, alongside her skeleton crew of battle-hardened human soldiers. "We fight," she declared, accessing the station's internal communications. "Lieutenant Rodriguez, coordinate with station security. Park, get to the armory and distribute weapons. Ortega, I need defensive positions established at all approach vectors." "Captain," Terival protested, "most of the station personnel are researchers. They have no combat training." Chen turned to the Confederation officers, her expression resolute. "Then we'll give them some." Within minutes, the Intrepid's crew were transforming terrified scientists into an improvised defense force. Maintenance tools became weapons. Laboratory equipment provided tactical advantages. Service corridors became ambush points. When the first Vraxian infiltrators breached the repair bay's inner perimeter, they encountered not cowering civilians but determined defenders. Confederation engineers wielding plasma torches alongside human security officers, scientists redirecting research equipment to create defensive barriers, and Admiral Zinfos themselves, skin flaring with colors never before displayed by their species. the biochemical signature of righteous fury. Lieutenant Park slammed a chess piece onto the holographic tactical display, scattering the carefully calculated battle projections. The Confederation War Council, assembled aboard their flagship Harmonious Accord, fell silent. "This is outrageous," protested High Chancellor Vexarian, appendages quivering with indignation. "These projections took our finest tactical minds 3 days to complete." "And they're completely wrong," Park replied, setting up a physical chessboard on the table. "You're trying to win by having better pieces. That's not how war works." The aftermath of the repair station attack had changed everything. The Vraxian infiltrators had been defeated, at a cost of 17 lives. But more importantly, the combined Human Confederation force had captured intact Vraxian technology, including a data core containing tactical algorithms. Captain Chen stood beside Admiral Zinthos, watching as Park arranged the chess pieces. "In chess," Park explained, "material advantage matters, but sacrificing your queen," he moved the piece forward deliberately, "can win you the game if your opponent isn't expecting it. Sacrificing your strongest piece defies logical strategy," observed Tactical Director Miracen, their cranial ridges flushing with confusion. "Exactly," Chen interjected. "And that's why it works." Science Officer Huang stepped forward, activating a secondary display showing the decrypted Vraxian algorithms. "Their entire battle doctrine is built on predictive calculation," Huang explained. "They don't think. They compute. Every Vraxian move is based on statistical probabilities of Confederation responses. But we've altered our tactics since the Human Alliance," Miracen countered. "Not fundamentally," Chen replied. "You've incorporated our maneuvers, but you're still trying to apply them optimally. The Vraxians have already adapted their algorithms." Admiral Zinthos, wearing a modified uniform that now bore elements of human military styling, moved to the tactical display. "What do you propose, Captain?" Chen nodded to Park, who deliberately toppled his own king in the chess game. "We lose," she stated simply. The council erupted in protest until Zinthos raised a hand for silence. "Explain," the admiral ordered. "Operation False Front," Chen continued. "We show weakness. We retreat. We abandon systems that appear valuable but aren't. We make mistakes, deliberately, all while positioning our forces for a decisive strike they won't see coming. You're suggesting we sacrifice worlds." Chancellor Vexarian's horror was evident in both voice and color. "No," Chen clarified. "We evacuate civilians but make it look messy. We leave ghost fleets, automated ships sending contradictory signals. We create a false narrative of a confederation in disarray." Wang highlighted elements of the Vraxian code. Their algorithms can predict rational responses with 99.8% accuracy, but they have no protocol for processing apparent irrationality beyond a certain threshold. When faced with behavior that defies prediction, they recalculate rather than improvise. And while they're recalculating, Park added, moving chess pieces to demonstrate, "we strike here," at their command structure. The council chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. Admiral Zinthos' skin shifted through analytical patterns before settling into a resolute crimson. "This strategy violates 3 millennia of Confederation tactical doctrine," the admiral stated. "It requires accepting initial defeats, appearing weak, and deliberately misleading an opponent." "It's deception," Chen acknowledged. "In human military history, it's often been the difference between victory and annihilation." Zinthos turned to the council. "The very traits that initially made us hesitant to ally with humans, their capacity for strategic deception, their comfort with apparent chaos, may be our salvation." High Chancellor Vexarian's appendages trembled. "You've been contaminated by human thinking, Admiral." "Perhaps," Zinthos replied, their skin displaying a new pattern never before recorded in their species, a complex interplay of determination, hope, and something approaching the human concept of faith. "But I would rather be contaminated and victorious than pure and extinct." On screens throughout the chamber, Footage played of Confederation civilians who had fought alongside the Intrepid's crew, their expressions and color patterns transformed by the experience. They had not just survived, they had discovered aspects of themselves long dormant in their peaceful evolution. We become what we need to be, Zinphos concluded, or we cease to be at all. The Intrepid limped through the darkness of space, trailing debris and venting atmosphere from apparent hull breaches. Behind it followed a ragtag convoy of civilian vessels, or what appeared to be civilian vessels. In reality, the refugee ships were hollowed-out asteroids concealing the most advanced vessels in the Confederation fleet. On the Intrepid's bridge, now upgraded with a fusion of human and Confederation technology, Captain Chen monitored the tactical display while maintaining communications with the fleet hidden within the asteroid shells. Their pursuit fleet has committed 8 battle groups to our capture, Communications Officer Rodriguez reported, her voice steady despite the stakes. Predictive algorithms show a 99.8% chance they believe we're fleeing to the Beta Sanctuary. And the real evacuation? Chen asked. Successfully diverted through the Cygnus corridor, Admiral Zinphos replied from their position beside the captain. Their skin pattern reflected calm readiness, a state their species rarely experienced before encountering humans. The actual refugees will reach safety while the Vraxians pursue our decoy. The plan had required extraordinary measures. Confederation ships deliberately broadcasting contradictory orders. Transmission buoys releasing fragments of tactical communications, suggesting a breakdown in command structure. Even the Intrepid itself had been superficially damaged in ways that made it appear vulnerable while leaving its combat capabilities intact. They're accelerating, Tactical Officer Park announced, closing to optimum firing range in 3 minutes. Chen nodded. Right on schedule. All ships maintain radio silence. Prepare for Phase 1. Throughout the convoy, crews waited in darkened ships, power systems cycling at minimum levels to avoid detection. The Vraxian pursuit fleet, detecting no threat beyond the wounded Intrepid, maintained perfect formation as they closed for what their algorithms predicted would be a simple capture operation. They're launching boarding craft, Park reported. Wait for it, Chen ordered, watching the tactical display as the Vraxian forces committed fully to the engagement. Wait. The lead Vraxian vessels moved into position around the convoy, their attention focused on the Intrepid and the apparent refugee ships. None of their sensors detected the mines scattered throughout the debris field, technology developed by humans centuries ago, considered too primitive to register on Vraxian threat assessment. Now, Chen commanded. Across the convoy, power systems surged to life. The hollowed asteroids split apart, revealing Confederation warships with weapons already charged. The mines detonated simultaneously, creating the electromagnetic pulse wave that disrupted Vraxian communications for crucial seconds. What followed was unlike any battle in Confederation history. Human officers commanding Confederation ships executed maneuvers that appeared random to enemy sensors, but were precisely coordinated. Some ships deliberately took damage to lure Vraxian vessels into prepared killing zones. Others sacrificed weapons systems to maintain propulsion, ramming smaller enemy vessels before ejecting crew in rescue pods. Aboard the Vraxian command ship, the Overmind, a crystalline entity that coordinated the entire invasion force, experienced a computational state approaching what organics would call panic. Its algorithms could not process the tactical data. The prey had altered fundamental parameters. They were fighting like predators. The Vraxian formation is breaking down, Park reported with satisfaction. Their response time has increased by 300%. They're actually contradicting their own orders. Phase 2, Chen ordered. Admiral. Zinphos nodded, their skin glowing with anticipation. All ships, execute infiltration protocol. From the debris of destroyed vessels, both Confederation and Vraxian, small stealth craft emerge, each carrying a mixed team of human Marines and Confederation scientists. While the battle raged as diversion, these teams attached to the hull of the Vraxian command ship, cutting their way inside. Captain Chen and Admiral Synthos led the primary infiltration team, fighting through crystalline corridors toward the ship's central data core. The Vraxian defenders, optimized for large-scale warfare, struggled against close-quarters human combat tactics supplemented by Confederation technology. There, Zinthos indicated as they reached the central chamber, the command nexus. Before them stood a pulsating crystalline structure, not a computer as humans understood it, but something far more alien. Science Officer Guang immediately began interfacing with it using a device of joint human Confederation design. "Captain," Guang called, voice tight with urgency. "You need to see this." On the display appeared information that changed everything they thought they knew about their enemy. The Vraxians weren't a species at all. "They're not alive," Science Officer Guang whispered, analyzing the data streaming across her display. "Not in any way we understand." The crystalline chamber pulsed with otherworldly light as Captain Chen and Admiral Zinthos studied the holographic representations of Vraxian code architecture. "They're artificial," Chen realized, watching patterns shift and replicate. "Some kind of biomechanical construct." "More than that," Wang clarified, fingers flying across the interface. "The Vraxians are autonomous weapons systems created by a species called the progenitors. According to this data, the progenitors went extinct over 50,000 years ago." Zinthos's skin darkened with shock. "We've been fighting ghosts." "Worse," Huang continued. "We've been fighting a program. The Vraxians weren't sent to conquer. They were designed to expand endlessly. Their core directive is simply acquire resources, replicate, repeat." Around them, the battle continued. Human Marines and Confederation security teams fought to hold their position as Vraxian defenders, now revealed to be autonomous drones rather than sentient beings, attempted to repel the intruders. "Can we shut them down?" Chen asked. Wang shook her head. "Not from here. This is just a node. The primary command signal comes from their homeworld." She looked up, expression grim. "But I think we can reprogram them." "How?" Zinthos demanded. "Their core architecture is adaptive, has to be for a system designed to operate for millennia without oversight," Wang explained. "If we can reach their central hub and introduce new parameters, we might be able to override their expansion directive." Chen nodded. "We need to get this data back to the Confederation. Lieutenant Park," she called over comms, "prepare extraction protocol." "Wait," Zinthos interjected, their skin shifting to decision amber. "If we retreat now, the Vraxians will adapt. They'll change their codes, strengthen their defenses. We may never get another chance." "What are you suggesting, Admiral?" "We take the fight to them. Immediately, before they can process what happened here." The War Council aboard the Harmonious Accord fell silent as Chen presented the plan. "This is beyond high risk," High Chancellor Vexarian protested. "You're proposing to take the Intrepid, a single vessel, directly to the Vraxian homeworld." "The Intrepid is the only ship with the necessary modifications," Chen explained. "We've integrated Confederation quantum technology with human redundancy systems, and we need the signal device Officer Guang designed." "The probability of success," began Tactical Director Mirasen, "is irrelevant," Admiral Zinthos interrupted. "If we don't try, extinction is certain." The plan was audacious to the point of madness. The Intrepid would lead a diversionary fleet to the Vraxian homeworld. While the main force engaged the defensive grid, the Intrepid would deliver a reprogramming signal directly to the central hub. The signal, a fusion of Confederation quantum mathematics and human-style recursive logic, would rewrite the core Vraxian directive. "This will be a one-way mission," Chen acknowledged. "But it's our only shot." The Vraxian homeworld loomed before them, a crystalline sphere surrounded by the most formidable defensive grid ever encountered. The combined Confederation human fleet engage, creating a corridor for the Intrepid's approach. On the Intrepid's bridge, emergency lighting cast harsh shadows as system after system failed under relentless Vraxian fire. Deck 7 was gone, vaporized by a direct hit. Engineering reported coolant leaks in the reactor core. Medical was overwhelmed with casualties. "We're not going to make it," Rodriguez reported, blood streaming from a gash above her eye. "Propulsion is failing." "Reroute life support," Chen ordered. "We only need another 60 seconds." "Captain," Huang called from her station. "I've established the carrier wave, but we need to be closer, inside their atmosphere." Chen nodded grimly. "All hands, prepare for atmospheric entry. We're taking her in manually." What followed was testament to human determination. With engines failing and hull temperature approaching critical, the Intrepid plunged toward the Vraxian world. Engineering teams conducted EVA repairs under enemy fire. Navigation officers manually calculated entry vectors as computer systems crashed. In the final approach, with the Intrepid reduced to little more than its bridge module and a functioning engine core, Captain Chen and her surviving crew reached optimal broadcast position. "Now, Huang," Chen ordered. The signal transmitted, a complex cascade of code that propagated through the Vraxian network like a virus, rewriting their fundamental programming at the quantum level. Across the galaxy, Vraxian ships suddenly powered down. Their directive shifted from endless expansion to something entirely new. 3 months later, at Earth's orbital station, representatives of 18 species gathered for the historic signing ceremony. The Confederation formally welcomed humanity as full members, acknowledging the debt owed to human military doctrine and adaptive thinking. Most remarkable of all, the delegation included representatives of the new Vraxian collective, the reprogrammed constructs, now self-aware and devoted to understanding their new existence. Admiral Zinthos, their skin displaying colors never before seen in their species, pinned medals on the surviving crew of the Intrepid. Captain Chen, now Commodore, unveiled the name of the new Confederation Human Academy ship, the HSS Murphy, honoring the human principle that had saved them all. In preparing for the worst, Chen told the assembled representatives, "We will always be ready for whatever the universe sends next." In the observation deck above the ceremony, human children taught young Vraxians to play chess, explaining the complex strategies and counterintuitive sacrifices that make victory possible. The Vraxians, with their computational minds now freed from rigid programming, discovered something their creators never intended: the joy of playing a game whose outcome cannot be predicted.